I was really interested in understanding the human dynamics better, what motivates individuals to join extremist groups, and also potentially what we can do on a psychological level to get them out of extremist groups again. I was especially worried about toxic group dynamics and, when taken to the extreme, how they can be counterproductive for our democratic values, for human rights, but also become threats to national security. One of the most alarming trends is the rise in youth radicalization, in particular the grooming and radicalization of minors, school-aged children, who have become more and more, who really show up in the statistics of radicalization across Europe, also the UK, but also Austria here. We see that young people are more and more prone to different types of extreme ideologies. And also, and that's related to this phenomenon, but is the nihilistic violence, the rise in nihilistic violence. So violence that is being glorified in some of these online subcultures just for the sake of glorifying violence, so that there is no clear ideology anymore beyond nihilism. Regulation is, I would say, part of the answer, but I think especially when it comes to systemic risks and the algorithmic infrastructure or the infrastructure of the big tech platforms that really amplify some of the most extreme voices. And that is, of course, creating an unlevel play field, which is in favor of the most radical actors out there. And is also in favor of state and foreign interference campaigns that want to promote instability and cause further or deepen the divisions that we see in Europe. But I think beyond that, it's really necessary to build more resilience. And that applies to both the younger generations, but I think not just the digital natives, as we call them, but also the digital migrants. People in the older generations who are not so familiar with the new technologies, where I think, especially at the intersection of psychology and digital literacy, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done there. There are definitely cases and success stories that give me hope, and I would say one of the perhaps trends that give me a lot of hope for the future and where things are going, not in the short term, but I think in the mid and long term, is that the next generations seem to be a lot more naturally inclined to understanding how social media has an impact on their psychology, on group dynamics. So of course we still see that trend of youth radicalization, but there's also the opposite trend of actually quite a lot of young people are turning away from social media and are returning to a life that is almost independent of these new technologies, which also signals that there is almost more awareness about the impact and the adverse effects this can have on their psychology and on their social dynamics.